I don't care what else is coming out. These are shoe of the year. What's up, sneaky people? It's your boy FB Kicks and Gear, and I am back with a very special legit check guide featuring Jordan 4 Nigel Sylvester brick by brick. Who would have thought Nigel Sylvester would swoop in at the end of 2024 with his Jordan 4 RMs and now make huge waves in the sneaker community? I give him all the props. Everything he's getting behind is stuff that I want, and man, these brick by bricks are some of the best fours that I have seen in such a long time, maybe since the off-white sales. Am I overhyping this a little bit too much? Maybe. Anyway, I love these shoes. They're fantastic. Everybody knows the hype on these. Prices are going up, so I had to hit you guys with a legit check guide. And just like with every other video, go to the Instagram account on the screen so you can see more pictures of this rep. The details matter. Getting into the nitty gritty is exactly how you're able to identify the authentic pair from the replica. So don't forget to do your research, guys. I can only do so much. So with that said, let's just get into this. Amazing shoe, amazing presentation. Unfortunately, I've already unboxed everything. Not only have I unboxed everything, I've already relaced these because I wanted the white laces in them. So I can't show you what they look like fresh out the box, but you guys can find that online. But what I can do is we can do our side-by-side comparisons, and starting with the box and the accessories and leading up to the shoes. So let's just jump right into the box so we can get that out of the way. So much like the Grandma's Driveway Jordan 4 RMs, the brick by brick box has a texture to it that you can feel all throughout. The bike and air and the Nike swoosh are actually indented and debossed into the box, and there is just this brick rough kind of feeling throughout. The RMs felt exactly the same way, and Nigel and Nike brought it back for the brick by brick, and it makes sense, right? Bricks do have a coarse texture, and you can even hear the sound. Now, the rep box does a pretty decent job at mimicking the texture for sure. It's there. It's definitely not as pronounced, and it feels a little bit smoother, as does the debossing. It's barely sticking in when you run your hand across it, but it definitely, the attempt is definitely there. I'd say probably the biggest difference outside of the size of the boxes is you can definitely see a clear color difference in the box of the authentic pair compared to the rep. The rep just looks to be a lot lighter. The finish and the visuals look different from the grains of the bricks. You can just see overall presentation. The box is definitely a imitation of the real thing. You can see it on the top here as well. Those colors just are not the same, but that's what we're used to seeing. That's nothing new. The only other thing that's worth looking at inside are these Velcro straps. So this is the one that comes with the authentic, and this is the one that comes with the replica, and I'd say they're more or less the same. Definitely some color differences for sure. It's a darker blue, especially on this back end where the actual Velcro part is, and it's a lighter blue for the rep, and the blues themselves on the kind of felt part, definitely different colors, darker on the authentic, lighter on the rep. And then just comes with these plastic bags. I'm not going to waste my time comparing the plastic bags. So now that we know that the boxes are different, let's just get into the shoes. So here we have both pairs side by side, and visually, I'm going to say this, I'm actually pretty impressed by how close they look side by side. I can already tell there are going to be differences that I'm going to point out, but from sitting from this distance, they do look very similar. One of the things that I really want to point out on the authentic pair is that the nubuck that they used on the uppers for this feels super luxurious. The texture it's soft, it's plush. The upper feels fantastic. even up on the tongue. It just feels like a luxurious shoe. Right off the bat, the reps definitely use a nice nubuck, but it's just not the same. They don't feel as luxurious. They don't have the same kind of motion or depth to it. It's not as plush. This is definitely more of a standard nubuck for sure. You can feel that on the tongues, and with that comes a slight color difference, because you can almost see the length difference in the nubuck in terms of thickness, in terms of plushness. It almost makes it look like there's so much less definition to the replica than on the authentic pair. And then feeling them like this side by side, they definitely do feel different for sure. But color wise, they are very, very close. I would say if this had a little bit more depth to it in the material, it wouldn't look as washed out as it currently looks in person. But even side by side, they do look very, very, very close. So I'll just do like a quick 360 of both pairs so that you guys can see, get a feel for the shape. Take a look at the back. Definitely seeing a little bit of a color difference at those back tabs and in the whites of the Bike Air. The side, I'm not seeing much color differences, to be honest. Do we see some difference in the color of the paint? Maybe the rep is just a little bit darker on the midsole. And that's it, more or less. Keep in mind, my pair is a size 11.5, and this is a size 11 for the rep. So yeah, really just handling the shoe and feeling everything. They definitely did a really good job in replicating the look. This toe box material here almost feels like a very hard, stiff rubber. If I had to guess, it's textured. The reps feel very, very close. It does feel like this material is thinner on the replica than it is on the authentic pair. It just has a little bit more give on the toe box of the rep when compared to the authentic pair, but the materials are definitely very similar. In color, they look very, very close. I'm not seeing anything too crazy in terms of color. Man, I'm actually pretty floored. This is like the closest that I've seen like the midsole paint on a Jordan 4 rep match the authentic pair. If I really had to be nitpicky, I'd say there's just a slight shade darker on the rep when compared to the authentic pair, but it's very, very slight. Looking at the netting, it looks like there's a slight difference in the color of the netting. I think the rep pair is a little bit lighter when compared to the authentic pair. I could definitely see it a little bit better in terms of that color difference up here at the front. But they definitely feel very similar. They both have the 3M kind of look going, but I would say that the 3M sheet on the rep looks to be a little bit lighter in color than the 3M sheet on the authentic pair underneath the netting. We've also got very slight differences in color on the wings, on the laces, and here on the side panels of the shoe as well. They look to be a little bit darker of an orange compared to the rep, but man, that is really hard to tell. Flipping over to the bottom, if you haven't seen these shoes, they have this weird kind of candy translucent outsole, and the rep looks to be less translucent than the authentic pair, or I should say more translucent than the authentic pair. The authentic pair is just a little bit more opaque and harder to see through, but the rep just seems to be a little bit more transparent, especially in the light. But I don't know if it's just the lighting here. It is just really hard to tell the color differences. Maybe you've got a slight color difference here in these toe caps. I think the rep looks a little bit darker, but like I said, in this lighting, it's very, very difficult. Looking at the tongues, I'm definitely starting to notice a color difference in the tags on the tongue for sure. We've got a darker, more auburn brownish kind of color here for the background of the Jumpman tag, while it's a little bit more orange on the authentic pair. and looking at the stitching that is around the border of the tongue tag, the stitching is definitely a little bit more vibrant of an orange. It contrasts a lot more with the tag than on the authentic pair. The thread is also a bit thicker. But man, wow, very, very close. When you look at the inside of the tongue, you definitely see a color difference in that liner as well. The rep is more faded, while the authentic pair is a little bit more saturated in color. Looking at those tags, the tags are a little bit different in color on the back of the tongue. The authentic pair, it's a lot more orange, while the rep is a lot more red. But that's honestly what the name of the game is for these shoes. It's slight color differences, slight feel differences across the nubuck, across these materials. Overall though, they're built very close. I would say that if I reduce the quality of materials from 100% down to maybe 75%, you land here with these, but visually they are very, very close. And I'd say probably the easiest thing that you can do from a legit checking perspective is, if you're not blown away by the quality of the shoe, it's probably a replica. But before we wrap things up, let's do a quick blacklight test to see if we see anything that stands out. So looking at the authentic pair, okay, we're getting the midsole paint to light up and react. I was not expecting that at all. Obviously we got 3M underneath. I'm going to pay attention to how the rep glows. Nothing else. You got the inside of the air bubble, definitely reactive. Nothing else here. Let's check the other shoe real quick. Just the midsole paint. None of the white. The laces aren't reactive. The tongue tag isn't reactive. Looks like that's pretty much it. Nothing crazy going on these shoes. Looking at the rep, we get some of this. We got the paint. Nothing crazy. So based on this, I don't think we really have anything to point at on the blacklight test, because the only thing that is reacting is the midsole paint. One thing I will say is that clearly there's a lot more glue on the rep going around than on the authentic pair, for sure. All right, let's turn the lights on and let's end this video. Well guys, hopefully that wasn't too long-winded. I kind of rambled and meandered a little bit in this video, but I'm really trying to get my mind around what the authentic pairs look like, and I am still so floored at the quality of these things. The replica definitely brought the heat in terms of overall appearance and accuracy, but still a good amount about this that falls short of the authentic pair that makes it pretty easy to legit check, in my opinion. Specifically, I think the biggest sign here is the nubuck. It is like night and day. The reps just don't touch the authentic pair when it comes to that quality of that nubuck. So with that said, guys, remember you can find more pictures of the replica on the Instagram account that's going to pop up on the screen. Study the details. I can't go over everything in my videos, even though I'm trying to go over as much as I can. I'm only hitting really the big points. So do more research, learn more about the shoes so that you get exactly what you're looking for when you purchase. With that said, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.